Man, I swear, Insta always cuts us off when we're having a good time. But that's what happens when you have a new page. Damn it. You gotta do a lot of lives until you get the unlimiteds. Hey, Alston's back up again. Hey, I'm gonna again, baby. All right, the show still continues. I forgot what we were talking about though.
Y'all keep
So,
kicking me off, man.
what's up, Diana? Anyway,
What up,
like,
Diana?
did you ever take out that person that was coughing in the background like a moron?
Nah, nah.
Okay.
I let them be, man. I like to add a little character to the background.
I respect that. I respect that. waiting on the waiting on the others to join here.
I was just talking to little bro.
Oh yeah.
They kicked
What
us
what
off again.
yeah, what was it what was they talking about?
Oh, we was talking about words and like how
Word.
language was connected originally, and I was letting them know how like money was like came from Monet, which used to be what they called money when it was like a gesture of love for somebody who did something kind to you. And cachet was the way that they explained it when they were giving a repayment for a debt, and how language was supposed to be an interaction with whatever was going on and then an assignment of whatever energy you got from it. So when they started when we started being taught that like apple it's almost like they take your opportunity for the reality because they tell you what everything is. When generally, a people had their own reality and connection to it based off of the interaction they had with it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. That's how I mean that's how I kind of view communication though, right? It's just like at least among people, at least among like the same species, like it's like we're trying to interpret each other, right? So like I guess like throughout the years, like it had to evolve because like you said, right? Like it was just noises at first, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Maybe
maybe
it was
yeah,
no
like
noise. Like
right, yeah.
so maybe we devolved. Who knows? Like, cause think about this, right? Just 30 years ago, 40 years ago, in a lot of places in America, it's still farms, a lot more farms, butchers, places where it was a lot closer, right? And then you have all this, and this is gonna be a little extra, astrological talk and technologies and you know when you get into conspiracies and stuff of our ancient history being extremely advanced. So what if the concept was that more so there was a cataclysmic event, and now that was really the end of the most advanced era that it had been, into where like now it started over and we just got back past farming and you know like all that kind of stuff
I mean,
maybe.
well, if you'd have paid attention to those Star Wars movies, if you see those little things like, it did say millions of years ago. So who knows? I mean, maybe motherfuckers had lightsabers and could move stuff with their mind. I don't know, like possibly. Shit.
Who knows, fam? Like, look what we're doing. Does it
Yeah.
sound far fetched? Like, if we were to think 1,000 years ahead, would it sound far fetched?
I you know I don't know because
I I be feeling like
sometimes I
people.
wonder like
My bad. Go ahead.
oh no sometimes I just wonder like because you when you look at what civilizations had in the past and what we got now, sometimes I wonder like damn like 1,000 years or 2,000 years from now, just like can we even imagine what type of discoveries humanity would make, or if humanity is still around by then? I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting stuff to think about. Just like or just like or just you ever just think about like dang like I wonder what the day to day was like, you know in like a certain era in the past, like
I
like
I do.
just
I do wonder, and I think the people who telling us, like, bro, the biggest issue I think I have with stuff is who is telling me. It's a conflict
mm,
of interest for the same people to be telling me what my history is as the same people who they say enslaved us. It's also a conflict of interest for those people to be the providers of my healthcare and my all types of government and drawing all the lines and the rules. You know what I'm saying? So it's like once I start seeing too much stuff in history and too many things going on, I'm like, I can't really trust what's going on based on what's going on for so long. We're just in. Oh, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say that's understandable. Like, when you see the history, like, I mean, hell, like, you hear black people be like, oh, no, I can't trust that Planned Parenthood because Planned Parenthood used to participate in eugenics, which, hey, they fucking did.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're not no more. Like, what I'm saying? I don't know, but yeah,
You
but
just,
it's understandable, like, to feel that way just because, like, yeah, like there's a history. I mean, and it's still happening, the medical racism. So
I
yeah.
mean, what did Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, what they say in their press conference? We want to especially make this available first to all the communities that nothing has been available to first. Like, which is a red flag, bro, because this isn't the only thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't the only ailment. There are people been dying from diseases and sicknesses for just forever, right? So for this to happen, and all of a sudden, like the resolve to it is coming from people who are mainly known for technology, and then they want us to have it first. I'm like, no, why don't y'all try it
I mean,
first?
like, is
I
it
don't
coming from them or are they investing in the people developing it?
who whatever it is. The fact that in history, the only stuff that comes to us first is stuff that hurts us in history. So I have to be ready for an alarm, even if I'm wrong. I have to be looking for this jab because there's been so many jabs over time. It's not to say I'm
I mean,
100% right.
but I mean, this has been out for like 2 years, though. I mean, what the fuck you waiting on now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, at least as far as like the COVID vaccine, but like, but which jab are you saying? Like, I probably
Well,
jumped the gun on the jab word.
I didn't necessarily mean jab, but for me, if it's been out 2 years, it's like only thing I've learned is that I'm okay how I am. You know what I'm saying? Like I haven't, you know what I mean? Like I haven't, I'm fine. And I would have
Okay,
been considered extremely high risk from just previous health issues
right.
and stuff.
Okay, yeah. But I guess like, what was your original meaning in the word jab? Because like I said, I think I might have jumped the gun on it.
I think I was just talking about like punches, shots at us. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, nah.
yeah. I mean, but as far as like punches towards us, I mean, that comes from more directions than just medical,
I don't know,
right? I
man.
mean, because you
Medical is
got
pretty
the
big.
because you got the over policing as well. You got I mean, you got the
Yeah.
laws written that affect us.
Food. Then that's the
Food
thing, bro.
choices, yeah,
I mean, not shortages,
like
just
food. I
food.
mean, like deserts, yeah, like like the food
Not
deserts
even
and stuff like that.
right because think about it, bro. When I was young, I was just thinking about this the other day. You know, I had heart surgery when I was young, but they gave me a medicine and told me not to eat leafy greens. They said don't eat leafy greens because we're gonna put you on a blood thinner, and leafy greens are natural blood thinners. Why can't you just have me eat leafy greens? I'm a kid. You know what I'm saying? What's the benefit of it? Of if there's a natural balance in nature, then why are there so many things that aren't with nature that have to be given to us? I feel like the majority of the stuff comes from nature, medicine, and the stuff that they don't want us to have is mixed.
I mean, right? Like, I mean, like most of your pills do come from nature. I mean,
Why not go
what
to
is it?
nature?
Well, because when you like actually put it in pill form, you can actually measure it and stuff like that. You're not getting like a consistent thing from like the source usually. Like, so, I mean,
But
I mean,
who?
I guess you can control the dose. It's more easy to control the dosage, I guess.
But isn't
Like,
that like? Let's just say, if we're watching a movie, wouldn't that be like a convenient way to just control people's health?
I mean, like when you say control people's health, like what do you mean? Like, because you're
Well,
just, it's like you're just, it's like I'm not necessarily disagreeing with y'all, but it feels like you're making a big leap.
so
So,
um, my thought is, naturally before there were apothecaries, right? Just people who got herbs and things and did them for people in their own neighborhoods.
mhm.
So wouldn't it be more beneficial to teach people amongst communities to do this other than having outside entities create the system for it?
Well, but see, that's what I mean though, because like everything in our society evolved. I mean, medicine did start off like that, like you said, but obviously, as a social creature, we're gonna share information. Like all this trade routes we doing, we probably traded different types of medical information, and eventually, like throughout the years, what consistently worked stayed, what didn't work consistently mixed, and like I mean, that's probably what made up like the medical system we know today. Like I don't necessarily look at medicine as like a they necessarily. I think it's more so just an evolution of what humans have always been studying, whether it's been from Africa, Asia, the early Americas, which have you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because I guess like, and I'm not really knocking nobody per se, but like people get science misconstrued. People think like science is supposed to know things, but science is actually the method of learning. It's like a
right,
trial
right.
and error. So that's why I'm not really like, going after you, because you're doing it. It's like you're thinking like a trial and error. Like what works for you, you keep doing it, and what didn't necessarily work for you, you're nixing it out. So like you're doing the science. So, but that's what I mean. It's like throughout history, and like humanity has a pretty long fucking history. Like we learned trial and error with this medicine shit. So I think I don't want, like, I don't know, like it feels like you're demonizing medicine, like to
Well,
an extent.
no.
Like
So I feel like people, we are very cognitive, right? So I think a lot of times we like to romanticize the moment we're in being the best moment in certain things because we can point out what was better to us based on what we were told wasn't in the past. But I'm always wary of who's telling me what was what, just because it's just too much. I'm always wary of who's the person telling me is bad and what do they have to gain from it. Like, so the only thing I have with medicine is just the all of the things they have set up to control it and who runs it and who those people are. And the fact that the medicine or the health industry is now publicly open to be bid in marketing wise
and,
in the stock
and
market.
that, so I think that's what your real target is, though, right? More so like the industry behind it,
No, because
because
it's all connected to me. It's all connected. So in my mind, and I know like for people who think opposite of me, connecting all of these industries is a reach. It's like, nah, they're completely different entities that might cross paths, but they're not connected. But I just look at like who is generally hurt by this stuff and who wins from it mostly. Like generally, who in history consistently is hurt by it, and who in history consistently wins by it. What condition does it in history generally leave certain groups of people in, and does it create a separation for other groups of people over time? You know what I'm saying? And even with advancement, the separation still advances as well. So if we're here, if we have this, and this is that much better than us, that
excuse me.
separation is there too. You start going to those other hospitals and other neighborhoods and seeing those other doctors, it might feel like they care more than they do down at the local one where you from.
Right.
But
And hmm. And, and I think I'm gonna harken back to what little brother was saying, like about capitalism being sort of like that main factor of like health hurting us. Because look, I mean, like the fact that medical debt exists is insane. You know what I mean? Like let's just say you
right,
needed a heart surgery really bad. You know, like is either what, like say you're gonna pay them 800K or die. Like obviously, you know what I'm saying. So, and
yeah,
obviously, in the past, for sure, there's been unethical experiments done on people. Whether it's like on the Jews during the
and that's what we
Holocaust
know. That's
or
what we know
on the
about.
black people. Yeah, like Tuskegee, right? I mean,
But
they
if you
they
if
pretended to. Get, go ahead.
what would you consider food deserts? Would you consider that an experiment? If we're controlling a variable, isn't this an experiment?
Mm,
We don't have to tell the people who are a part of it. It doesn't have to be
I
public
would.
knowledge.
I mean, I'd say it's more greed than like just like a let's see, Johnson, what's going to happen with, like because
But
look, we
what
all.
industry? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know. Go on with your question.
I was gonna say, what industry would benefit from a food desert? Like if there's a food desert, completely different one. What industry next benefits from that?
Well, in food deserts, you still got like the fast food places
I
and all that shit, though, which is not the healthy food, right?
so
That's
right. So
like I guess like
then
different. Oh, go ahead, man.
oh no, the health industry. I was just it had the frozen a little bit on my side, and I was like the health industry
Oh,
because if
yeah,
there's less healthy food, then unless you have a community of extremely proactive people who aren't working full time jobs, like you're probably gonna have people eating the unhealthy food.
right. I mean, I guess like, hmm, I guess my thing is like, I mean, I don't. I'm not one of those like blissfully ignorant people who's pretending that like bigger forces aren't having an effect on communities. It's just some of these things that y'all connect is like how much of it is more so just like a result of like just the laws and systems in place versus like people with the puppet strings like whoa, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, and I feel like there's only really a few tones you can have on it. You know what I mean? You really you can play in between it because I'm a kind of person I don't believe all of this stuff, of course, but there's certain stuff that to me now seems more of a possibility than it did 5 years ago. Um,
Hmm.
it's just we get older, we see more, we looking at more, and I understand that the big thing is that none of us really know what's going on.
Right.
Even if we just look at like law, most of the words that you have in contract don't mean what they mean in conversation or in a
Hmm.
classroom or in a
Right.
normal state. And
Different
to
context, yeah.
even have a system like that set up for people to agree to on a daily lets you know the kind of place we live in, where it's all word trickery and double talk. If you don't know, all we know is what they tell us to think about it, not necessarily what it is. But from a person who likes science, when you look into a lot of this stuff, it's not the general conversation. There's a lot more into it. It's not necessarily what people think it is generally.
Hmm.
I'm just I'm a little what's the word I'm looking for? I think there are too many just things going on for me not to question. And I think questioning is a science thing.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
like you were saying.
I mean, and yeah, and it's just I don't know. It's like I think if like more people had the access to actually kind of study the basics of science a bit, then things would be a little less. People would be a little less confused by things, like because I mean, like I understand why people would be in why somebody would be an anti-vaxxer. You know what I mean? But the ironic part is most anti-vaxxers you see they've been vaccinated and they're just they're a fucking okay. You know what I'm saying? Like so
I don't know
it's
many people
like
who are anti-vax that are vaccinated.
I mean, like if you're old enough, you've been vaccinated as an infant. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. It's
Oh,
like I
oh
mean,
yeah. No, I got you. But I don't think that means that they're safe. Like I don't think just because somebody does something and we don't die that means it's safe or we don't have like a
but I mean, how
notice.
many? I mean, but when I don't know, but I feel like every time anti-vaxxers pull up an example, like, oh, sir, look at this side effect. Yeah, they fucking told you that that's a side effect. Like nobody tried to hide that from you.
So
But
I
how many
mean,
people took it and are just fine though? Like it's like a numbers thing. Like a lot
and
more people benefited from vaccines than suffered. So
I'm
that I guess that's I mean, like I said, I understand the hysteria, but that's why I said like just learn like
see
the basics of it, then you'll be like, oh, okay, I see. Right.
see mine isn't really necessarily hysteria or fear of anything of it being good or bad. It's just I can't trust I can't trust them. Like it doesn't I can't trust where the information comes from. I don't have a viable source. I have people telling me what they want. I have the system that's giving me the vaccine telling me what what I need to know about it in a corporation of a company like that I live in. And it's just too tough for
Hmm.
me to like look at it and say that that's not a conflict of interest that
So, so like even if like scientific studies like are peer reviewed and all that, like if you was to know like like the methods of how like stuff gets published and everything, like would because they're pretty transparent about it. Like would you be a little bit more trusting? Because like I mean I'm trying to get like the they because you know you're going
I
back to the they again. So it's a lot
well,
of different. Um,
I don't and then this is gonna probably sound just like all the other stuff, but I don't if it's the general push, you know, like when you got a camera and you can put it on auto,
mhm,
then it's for the best picture, but it might not be for like the truth of what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not the best picture, but just the best picture with the least amount of effort put into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to get this across. So I feel like when I
mhm,
start seeing things being generally pushed, it's not necessarily the truth. It's just what we want the masses. Because we live in a place where it's not always beneficial to tell the full truth from the government, and that's something that they have. Um, but whose discretion is that to? And then we can't give it to each person and say, yeah, let us decide that because each person doesn't know what the right level should be for discretion when it comes to different things. But I can't say I trust them because if I look at history and the government, why should I trust them?
mhm.
So I
Hmm.
don't know.
So I mean, yeah, I guess that's the thing, though. I guess so it's so the government is one institution that you do not trust. Because I guess like most of the institutions that say vaccines are safe or you know abortion isn't bad or anything like that, like they're not necessarily. They might have been. They could be funded by the government, but most of them are like their own scientific, you know, institutions. Like so, I
I
guess
mean,
or like their own organizations. I guess so.
but if you know anything about business, you know most things that need to be done can be dressed under nonprofits. That's the thing. Like if you have money and you want to clean your money, you start a nonprofit. Even if you have a passion, it's still a good way to get money out of it. Just like blood donating, you only have to turn in 10% of the money that's raised in your nonprofits. So all the money that's raised in all of these nonprofits that come up, only 10% has to be turned in.
So okay, so okay, the nonprofit thing kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, but I'm more so just talking about what, like, so I guess you mean like the big government, like the government entity that you do not trust, like they could be working under so-called like a scientific org, like, but
Well,
under that, like under that guise.
well, yeah, the same way politicians have people in their pockets because all of these people can't afford their whole campaigns. So you have to
Mm.
have people in your pockets, and people in your pockets means agendas that you have to push to get your money. Like,
Yeah, and I understand that because I think it was like big oil, like was it oil companies or it was some sort of like fossil fuel industry. But I remember, yeah, they bribed scientists into saying, "Hey, climate change is bullshit," pretty much. I mean, but people eventually found that out and exposed it. But yeah, that I mean that does happen.
and
Hmm,
and I think the biggest
but I guess,
problem is
but
exposure
like
does.
I guess like on what scale like would you say it does? Like how big? I mean, hmm,
I think exposure doesn't affect big business if it doesn't become general information. Just like this whole Facebook release that just came out. I mean, when the guy came out as a whistleblower for Facebook.
I thought it was a woman.
No, it was a. I mean, maybe let me not
Well,
offend
well, there
the
was
person. The person that
there
came
was a
out.
woman who like who went to trial for it, but it could have been somebody before her.
I
But
saw the
anyway, go ahead.
video.
What you were saying?
I saw the video of the person that came out whistleblowing for Facebook. But like, if it's not general information, if the news can play it and tone it as something, then it's going to be whatever it's toned as to the people watching it. And it's just like when you start seeing things from other industries, from health industries, with a tone from the news that doesn't necessarily give people a chance to decide on their own, which is what I think we should be encouraging. Even I guess the science community wouldn't believe that the people are smart based on the research. So maybe you wouldn't believe that they can make decisions on their own.
I
But
mean, well, to be fair to them, I mean they don't. They're not necessarily saying that we're stupid. It's just like some of these concepts you had to have studied that subject for you know as long as they had to get it. Like, but go ahead. That was a tangent.
nah, that was cool. I ain't tripping. I'm thinking, science wise, like who's your favorite scientist?
Favorite scientist?
TV
Mm.
scientist. Say that.
Oh, TV. I mean, I was going to just say Neil Tyson. You know,
Neil, was Degrassi Tyson or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
we
See, and
call him
it's
Neil. We call him Neil the Grass Tyson. You know, because of that
once people
tobacco.
once people get too commercialized, to me, it's almost like say like when the podcast blows up, right? The same way you don't want
Mhm.
tobacco on it, you don't want this. You have sponsorships, so there's certain scripts almost you have to stick to. You still get to pick your topics and stuff, but there's certain things you got to stick to. Anytime I see people in big light, often there's no chance that they don't have to stick to some kind of script because there are people who have money invested in what's going on that won't let you just be as free as you probably would like to be. I bet a conversation you would have with Neil Tyson, Degrassi Tyson, you would probably ask him a lot of stuff you probably know he wouldn't talk about on TV or something. But
Oh,
it
well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. Obviously, there's censorship everywhere. Um, but you know, there was a point I was gonna make. People like Neil Tyson. I mean, yeah, this probably is a script that he would have to follow. Um, but you know, the fact that I guess like his existence and you know Bill Nye's existence. I mean, like remember how you said you know how some scientists would think, oh well, these people ain't smart enough, blah 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 blah. People like them, like you know, they have like such a way of communication, like they can actually communicate science to a normal audience. So maybe some of that dumb down is them, you know, speaking in layman's terms to us to get us to understand like the subjects. But I mean, I understand what you're saying too. Like, you know, as far as like a message
well,
being,
I don't even mean like nothing's wrong with them because of the way they dumb it down. To me, I think the highest form of intelligence is being able to communicate what you need to get across.
yeah,
So knowing how you need to say it to different audiences to get your point across. But no, I think what I'm saying is as soon as you have sponsors and producers and things, there's certain things that even if you believe it, you couldn't say. You know, like I
right.
remember when and this might not be the best example, but I remember when Tyler Perry first got a show on TV, he said the one thing they told him is he couldn't say Jesus.
Mm,
You know, like David
I
Chappelle
mean,
told him that he could say nigger, but he couldn't say the F word. You know, like it's certain rules that because people running it have their own things too, their own preferences,
yeah.
their own things that they have set up. So that's all I'm saying is like once you have sponsorships and you have big business, there's certain things that if it goes too much against what an audience can generally receive, then it's not necessarily worth the money to them.
I mean, but you know, just to be fair to just like that concept, uh, I mean, you know, if you throw a free air, free water event, there are certain things that free air, free water is just not going to tolerate from people. And you know, like it may be a legal thing to
Right.
do, but you know, you're like shit talking you, right? Yo, fuck Austin, you're a piece of shit. Y'all not tolerating that. Y'all kicking that person out of the venue. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I'm pretty
Right.
sure, like, you know, there are certain messages that you will want artists representing free air, free water to put out. That's probably, you know, you probably wouldn't want Duka and Diana to start just saying any old thing under the free air, free water name, correct?
No, but you know, I would hope that I pick people who I mean, you're just giving the example. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I know, and I'm pretty sure like you know whichever sponsor you know either shoots out to me, you, or anyone else, like they probably have a feeling in their mind like, oh, okay, this person fits our brand, you know, like already from the jump, kind of like how you saw Diana and Duca be like, yeah, they fit my brand, I'm going to get them, you know. So hey, anyway.
I, I mean, I think the difference is though the bigger you get, the more generalized you become, if that makes sense.
True.
So when you start off, it is more of a direct thing, but once you become a walking billboard, actually become money walking around. Then brands want you. So that's why certain people could be reckless and still get these deals with companies because they're just too big at that point.
Right.
But the same reason that you know, something can happen to a lot, like Beyonce could fall down the stairs and that shit could be off YouTube now, but we can watch black people get shot and killed on YouTube.
Hmm.
You know, like it's certain shit that's like with brands, and when you live in companies, they're gonna make sure that shit goes the way they want it to go.
Yeah.
So
Huh?
if I can see it on TV, it must be going the way they want it to go. Now it might happen online on a live, something might happen off code, but I work in movies and television. So I know what goes into the show setting up, what happens and the preparation and what it looks like. That it's not gonna be some random shit that happen that just end up in a movie. That's
Right.
like that's like jaw dropping. Nah, it's control over these things. Like,
And you know, and it's yeah, and obviously to get your messages out, like you got to jump through a lot of these barriers because the director who recently passed, Melvin Van Peebles, right, to get the Sweetbat movie out, like he had to pretty much fund it himself because wasn't no studio going back it, right? And also, I mean, he was what the message he was putting out. Didn't no white audience. Well, I mean, well, he made it for black people, but the
where
average
the
white
money
person
at?
probably didn't want to see it. So, I mean, but I don't
I
know.
can.
I probably defeated myself though, right? Since that started the black exploitation, and eventually white people got into it. But I don't know. I guess like
I
at
mean,
first people didn't want that message, and they got it, but then it became like normalized. Then eventually it became marketable. I mean, I guess a lot of things it happens like that. I
I mean,
guess
because we live in a place, right? You watch Atlanta?
I haven't seen the newest episodes yet.
Okay, well I'll leave them alone. But we have to just because we have culture and we have all
Uh,
these things doesn't mean that there isn't that we don't
oh,
live in a
okay.
corporation.
Can you start that over? You kind of
Broke
uh,
up.
yeah, broke up on my end.
Just because we have to remember just because we have culture and we have all of this like love for people or certain things for family and stuff, we got to remember that we're the consumers and all this love and stuff and all this admiration I have for my son and we got for what we want to do in life. We're really just here buying a bunch of shit. Like that's the purpose of us to them. That's why there's a House of Representatives. So because they're supposed to be there so the government doesn't take advantage of the consumers. But positions can like money is the real king here. So positions can all be bought out or you can be put in people's pocket. You can get inside of people's pockets. It's just there's too much conflict of interest. I like earlier when we were talking about Trump bringing in all his homeboys. The only difference is Trump's homeboys just aren't the normal people who are in the in politics. People are always bringing in their homeboys.
Yeah,
Don't
but I
like
mean, well, but those people were in politics for a while. It was just he was putting people in positions they had no business being in, like which the nepotism was always there, of course. But I mean, he had fucking Rick Perry like in the environmental protection. I'm like, the fuck, that nigga don't know shit about it.
you know what
Like,
that means though.
like
It probably either means either he has Rick in his pocket and he know he can depend on Rick not to do nothing he don't want him to do, or Rick got him in his pocket and wanted to be in some type of government shit.
I mean, well, that's funny too. That's why you said like sometimes like history gets doomed to repeat. Like I was watching this thing. It was talking about how like similar to Trump, like Hitler, like the Weimar Republic, like the conservatives at the time, that was like, well, shit, this nigga's kind of a fucking dumbass and a wild card, but the people like him, so we can control him or whatever. Which turns out they couldn't control him. So it's like, so kind of like I don't know, yeah.
I mean, what do you think about like what's his name, Lieutenant Byrd or Colonel Byrd? You know, the scientists that they got from that America used. You know, they used a lot of German scientists who were involved in the torturing of Jewish people and stuff, and brought them over here to be their scientists. I
Mm-hmm.
always, I'm not implying anything, but I always question who's showing me what. So if I'm in America, who's showing me the news? And because if they're showing it to me, they have the opportunity to show it with a tone, and it could all be based on what they want us to think about what we're looking at. You know what I'm saying, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So I don't quite know what was really going on. The same way people don't know what's going on in
Excuse
your
me.
house. You know what I'm saying? Like it might benefit U.S. to make North Korea look really bad. You know what I mean? Like I'm always
Right.
looking at because I always think if they put somebody on TV, why? So I even look at Martin Luther King, right? If you have control of the media, meaning you won't let some wild shit just happen. Why do you put this on TV? You know what I'm saying? So, and
I mean, but sometimes it's. I mean, well, most of the time, really, it's like kind of consumer based. It's like sometimes it's like, oh shit, well these motherfuckers want to see Tomato Head. Well, put fucking Tomato Head on the TV right the fuck now. Get them to spend more money. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
it's a sides thing. I feel like
But okay,
Burger King, McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. It's always like a sides kind of thing.
you
Um,
said side or size?
SIDE.
Okay, sides. Okay, yeah.
Like they give us sides to pick which one do you align with. But I always
But
question what they put up
but
there.
right, and I was gonna say the thing with at least with MLK and Malcolm X. I mean, they wanted the same thing. At the end of the day, they just
Right.
wanted black people to be left alone. Like so.
They wanted the same thing, but they also separated people that wanted the same thing. Not saying they did it, but the media showing people, because there was people who loved Malcolm X and loved Nation of Islam, and people who hated it. There's people
Yeah,
who loved Martin Luther King and people who hated him. You
right.
know what I mean? So especially having one side tell you to turn the other cheek is very beneficial. You know what I mean? Because especially when you can tone what you're doing to people as something that isn't, however you want to tone it. I won't even imply anything, but however you want to tone it. It's just because there are a lot more people who were involved in black rights and civil rights, but I just feel like civil rights were to look left. You don't. Civil rights are sitting on a bus using a water fountain. Like civil things, but we weren't speaking on human rights. Human rights are what happens when people have clear nationalities. If something's going on, an injustice to a people, you hear something go to the United Nations about a decree for something to help these people in their nationality. It's a war. It's like something happening to their human rights being violated. But we can't make a call because black technically is a adjective, not a nationality. When it comes to nationality, either people named after the land or the land named after the people. Black is just an adjective. You could show us a picture of a Jamaican person, he could be black. You could show us. So it's just like when it comes to America in general, America is one of the only places where the people who are American generally aren't from here.
Right.
Historically, like they aren't from here. So who does it benefit to make sure that certain people are aren't able to assimilate themselves on the land? Who does it benefit? How do you know if your family has any Native American in it?
Fuck if I know. I mean, they said my great great might have had some, but I'm not sure.
But you hear black people talk about it all the time, right? You'll hear black people say, I got some Indian in me. That's why she got this hair or that or whatever." And it's like we look at Native American like an adjective or a novelty when that's really a nationality. And we are on black, but black doesn't come with any rights. Black doesn't come with. That's why the thing could happen for Asian rights, which they deserve, of course, but not for us because rights have to be attached to a defined nationality. And just because you fill it in on a survey doesn't mean it's a defined nationality that's recognized by the United Nations.
Okay. I was trying to follow it, but then you just said you need a nationality. Um, well, I
Who,
mean,
like, what would you put down in the paperwork? The black people in America?
well, obviously it'll be quite hard to trace your genealogy back to wherever the fuck. I consider myself just a black American since I was born here. Shit,
I mean,
like,
which is where we are, which seems good enough. And not saying it's
yeah,
not. We've gotten to a place to where we should be able to be excited about some of the freedoms we do have. But I think like being happy enough to just be a black American, like just think about it, right? I don't know if you know, but with Native Americans, a lot of them didn't get the option to vote unless they identified as Negro.
mm,
So over time, paperwork is gone, grandma and all them or whatever. This is what we hear about great grandma and them. You know what I'm saying? Oh, great grandma, auntie, whoever. Because they started to where they had to identify as Negro to be able to have rights and vote and do all the regular stuff because the people who make the rules can make it as difficult as they want. Just like they did with Uber when it came out. Uber was cake when it came out. And they started making more rules and different things. But capitalism. I think work is funny.
Work is funny.
I
I
think
mean,
work
like in what context? Like when you define like, in what context are you using work? I guess.
like going to a job.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that is kind of a fun thing.
My
Give
grandma
like, go ahead.
my grandma had a farm. My grandfather could build houses. You know, he knew how to do plumbing. His sons knew how to do plumbing, electric work. Like, so to be at a point now to where like people don't even know how to grow food. People don't know where to like kids don't know. Food comes from the grocery store. You go to McDonald's, you go here, or even better now, they bring your groceries to you. You know, like you don't even get to pick it. Oh, no, I want this one. I want to make sure you got somebody getting that check, not checking no dates, nothing. They just this one, that one, and it's just we're so far away that now from the way that things have gone from the inception of the TV dinner, the way things have gone that to where we are. It's like Wally almost. You know, we're slowly but surely like stepping more and more dependency on the technology, which leaves us really to the play of whoever owns and runs the technology or regulates.
Possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, innovations happen. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's
They
just
for sure
like
do. They for sure do.
I don't know. It's just like again, it's like these leaps. But I mean, look, like, but these people are choosing. I mean, but then again, you probably think the choice is an illusion,
Is it?
right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it a choice?
So you're
Like,
like,
think
you
if I.
got just like
It's
nothing.
like if I say, hey, go get it.
Uh,
Like if you know these crazy people online who fighting for driver's license, like I don't need a driver's license. Da 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 da. Like it's like, and then they're like, but there are people who really get away with it, who really know what they're talking about and do. And it's like, but it just looks like too much of a hassle. It's like, why not just go get the driver's license? Why not pay the fucking whatever it is and
oh, you talking about
just
those sovereign citizen morons?
right, right. Like
Like,
so, there's this whole thing of like, why are they going through all of that? Where people don't even care
but they
about.
be loud and wrong though. Like that's the funny part.
But you never truly know who's wrong because you never know because you have to understand who's giving you the message and what would benefit them.
I mean, but I don't know. See, that's like a. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I know you're being genuine, but that sounds like the more articulate version of, well, you can't trust the mainstream media. I tell you what, that's that liberal media, like, cause, I mean, but yeah, obviously,
Can
you
you?
gotta vet your sources,
I mean, bro,
but
I worked on the TV show, the First Lady, the one that they're like roasting because of
cause Viola Davis or whatever
yeah, Viola Davis,
doing her
bro.
mouth like that.
The show was directed by someone that wasn't from America. And no knock, that's not to say they can't have a well digested understanding of America.
Right.
Um, but she wasn't from America, and and she wasn't like recently here. But we were asking her to bring to life the depiction of a black woman in the like 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, and you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I literally watched on the TV show people make stuff up. Like when it didn't go, make it up. Like, they just make it up. Nah, we'll just do this because it looks better. It's just TV. All of them would just do stuff because it looks better, or because this is a better way to view it. It doesn't feel as unconclusive or uninclusive.
Right. But they do that with everything though. Like, I mean, obviously, like most of these like cop drama movies, like they get into shootouts like 3 times a week, even though like in reality you're placed on leave after a shooting. You know what I mean? Or showing them walk away fine after an explosion. Like, yeah, they're choosing aesthetic over reality. But, hmm, but I guess how do you explain that to somebody, I guess, who just wouldn't know that?
Right, we're used to it. You know, like we watch media, we watch the new, like we get used to the tone. You know, the first people they played that. Have you ever heard about when radio was like in charge of stuff, and they
Hmm.
played like this story about like an alien invasion, and people thought it was really
Yeah,
going on?
that was War of the Worlds. Yeah.
Exactly. So, like they manage what they want to tell us, and you know, like who's to say that they didn't know or have a good strong chance of understanding, like know that this they might really think this is real. This is the place they get the news from. They didn't tone it like it was a story. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
I
they
mean,
have.
I think that was that could have been H. I think was it H.G. Wells? I'm not sure. I mean, that could have been his intention. I thought. I mean, I don't know. I thought it leaned heavily towards that him kind of like his being in, his intention to make it as like persuasive as possible. You know, but I mean, he probably didn't expect the catastrophe. But you know, I thought he did lean towards like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it sound so real. I'm gonna make it sound like an actual news report. You know, this story.
There's gonna be no preface. I mean, but you would only know from working on the radio how much people think
Hmm.
things are real. Like over time, the same way you work on TV, you could work on television, and you or maybe you talk to people about podcasts and what they might think is actually going on, opposed to what's really going on.
Right.
Like there's always a truth and then a perceived truth. And I think a lot of times people understand and where we are our perceived truth. The people who are over, like who I won't say over, but media. Media understands that the same cameramen who can work on the news work in Marvel movies. Like all of it, Nickelodeon, whatever it is. Because it's a job. I don't think the people doing the job are necessarily, the ones. I think we perform tasks.
And you know, but the thing is, like, I mean, granted, too, like, you know, obviously, yeah, there's these, what, like the four major corporations, I guess, that own all these different media outlets. But I mean, there's so many different media outlets that give different messages. But then I guess you'll say, well, yeah, well, that's all the messages that the man wants you to hear. But,
Well, I wouldn't
you
say
know,
that.
it's like,
I'd say
but no,
when.
I mean, but I was just saying, like, but I guess the point I was going to make, which I was going to say, I guess I'm kind of defeating it here. So I was just saying that's probably the answer you would give. I was just saying, like, there's so many different, because, you know, you got Jet, you know, you got Rolling Stone, you got fucking Time, you got, well, I think Ebony's dead now. I think Jet's dead now.
Oh yeah, they killed all of them.
Anyway, you got the gay mags, you got the country magazines, you know what I'm saying? Like you got all these different channels now. And then of course you got independent creators that you can choose from as well.
Right.
It, hmm. But you know, but I do think too, like because you know, like I'm like a left leaning kind of person or whatever,
Hmm.
and you know, also non religious or anything.
Right.
So
Right.
obviously, like, you know, most of my social media has been curated to follow those
Out the
people.
algorithm.
But at the same time, sometimes I wonder, like, you know, I wonder what that conservative Christian like like you know what I'm saying, like the motherfuckers who actually like legit believe, you know, some of what they believe, like, you know what I'm saying? I wonder what they think of me. This like I wonder if, like, am I a lost cause to them, or am I like, you know, oh, if
Probably.
only they read this, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of like how I think about them, you know?
Yeah, but we all lean on our truths in our mind, the things that we hang our hat on, the things that help us understand things for us. So it's like it. The truth doesn't matter. The perception of the truth matters to us. That's why there's so many different perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like all they're doing is playing off of what sides people want to lean towards anyway. Like I used to tell people, man, like on the side that's against Trump, they're showing all the stuff that shows him not liking black people, Mexicans, all of this. On the side with him, they showing all his famous Mexican friends and black friends that have taken pictures with him over the years and all of his soirees and the soirees and all that stuff. Like, so there's always something for everybody. I'm not opposed to people making their own decision at all.
Yeah.
Like that's what this life is. Like make your own decision. But
Hmm.
I'm gonna look at what people are showing me, and when I say people, what I'm going to look at the media, the health industry, the food industry, um, the police force, and what they've been in history, and how that's going over time. And I'm gonna form my questions that I have from what's going on right now. And I'm gonna look and I'm gonna say, did it look like when this first started it was something good? You know, like did it face it as something good? So yeah, I'm gonna go do the research on it and look into it before I like just say yeah. But even then, I'm gonna say I don't know because you just it's left up
Right.
to what people are gonna do.
So, and there we got like 10 minutes left, but so I'm gonna ask you this: how do you vet your sources? Like you Austin, Jay Austin, how do you personally vet your sources?
I mean, it's almost impossible when you don't trust the people who curate everything you kind of look through. So you
Hmm.
so like if YouTube can get something taken down, then that means that the truth is at risk, right? Unless it's something like harming children or doing something bodily, like it's just left up to what's considered a risk, and that's where
I mean,
word and
well,
perception come in.
and well, okay, if I go down that road, that'll be another episode. But okay. But now then I'm gonna ask you this too. Now for the sources that you don't necessarily trust, I mean, like if they were to introduce you to information that you never heard before, would
Mm-hmm.
you still like, use it as a jump off point, but still sort of see it like, what I'm saying, obviously in the back of your mind, you're gonna doubt it, but would you use that as a starting point and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna believe you now just because I can't counter you kind of thing?
I I believe in I believe in like you'll find certain information and you'll have these like moments, right? And my moments aren't always connected to what I want to know. You know, some of them, my moments have made me question the religion I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? It made me think other ways. So it's like a lot of times there's no way for me to fully vet them, but new information isn't going to hurt me because I'm not a person who's closed off to, like, let's say if the whole thing is like, say, white people say black people are saying they're gods, and then the white people's book is saying black people are the devils. I
Mm-hmm.
have for me to be completely unbiased, I have to be open to that perception. I have to understand that generally in history, devil has been a word that meant double or diable, and it's just the adversary. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to understand that like words change over time and how they were used and how we think of them don't necessarily correlate. So like I'm always looking into it and trying to figure out like where can I go? Let me go to language then. Like, all right, if I'm talking about Jesus, what was the Greek word for Jesus? It was Ias, which sounds a lot like ISIS. Like, like so you just looking at stuff because you said the letter J didn't exist.
Right.
It wouldn't even make sense.
And you know what? As far as like cultures, I mean, I'm not gonna go as far as Zeitgeist did and just say like, oh yeah, it's the 12 signs of the zodiac, and that's what all these religions are connected. No, I mean everybody like like Easter, right? Like everybody had a spring, was it spring equinox? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like most cultures had some sort of spring equinox. Now, what the spring equinox was to them was different shit. It differed from different civilizations, times and
Right.
civilizations. So, but yeah, I would think that concept is what connected them. But obviously, but however, their own individual practices, that those were different. Which then eventually time moved on. And like I said, some were probably forgotten. Others were probably just so popular that it remained.
I mean, but we're so far out of the loop that we really can't. We have nothing to draw from but our own understanding here,
Yeah.
trying to perceive. So it's just like
I mean, we look at history with our own understanding at the end of the day. I mean, we try not to, but I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, that's what we're
so.
using.
I feel like we look at history from someone else's tone. I think we get
Yeah,
it from someone else's tone, and then we
true.
look at that.
I mean,
Um,
right? Yeah. So you're correct because because as you said, it depends on who wrote it, right? But I feel like like say for instance, the Bible,
mhm.
like to me, it's like it's barbaric, stupid, primitive. Like to someone else, it's majestic and poetic. Like it just depends on like it's the same. We're looking at the same authors. Like they're both ancient peoples writing from their perspective. But we're using 'cause I'm like the mind I'm using is just okay, historical. Okay, yeah, written in the past. Okay, yeah, obviously those dumb motherfuckers believe that. Whereas the person who says majestic or whatever, they're reading like they're probably using their understanding from their experiences growing up in this time in civilization, but maybe applying it to the book, and that's how they're getting that majesty from. So
Right, right. No, you're right. I, you remember? Have you ever heard the verse? It's easier for a rich man to go for a rich. It's easier for a donkey to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man
camel
to make it.
or
Yeah, camel, a camel. Then
you told me this, but real quick, tell the audience because that was good.
well, the a needle wasn't the eye of a needle back then. A needle was a small area that was very hard. Like a camel would have to like be on his legs and like scoot to get through. It wasn't impossible to get through, but it was very difficult. And it was just saying that it's a very difficult process for a rich man to get to heaven. But it wasn't like they making you think it's like impossible. Like a extremely tiny man couldn't get through the eye of a needle.
Right.
Like you know, like no matter how good he is.
Hmm.
But yeah, nah, it's about understanding words and being able to go back and not just take a tone someone gives you. Go do the research. Question those moments and those things that don't feel right and go research it as best you can. At least put in the effort.
Yeah, that's a good message there. And that's a well, yeah, that's a good conclusion point.
Yeah.
And also this is unrelated. I mean, I really did want to talk about the Harnett County, but hey, we were just spitting flames. But I do want to say about the Harnett County. Thanks for putting that on. It was a really good experience, and also thank you for that song about your dad. That was you know, I know where you was coming from for that. Like you almost got me too. Like my eyes was bulging. Like those faces men make to not cry. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so thanks for sharing that part of you, and thanks
Dude.
for giving your time to the SOS. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to save that last one, but I'm gonna get on top of this. I will save this one. And thank you for this conversation. It was
Oh yeah.
definitely a challenging one, but in a good way.
Yeah, man. Nah, I appreciate it has to be balanced, man. It has to be.
I mean,
If I'm not
but that's communication, though, right? We got to try to
yeah.
understand each other.
History's in pieces. We gotta find somewhere in the middle and figure it out.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Jay Alston, for joining the SOS podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Peace, everybody. I'm going to master that sound one day. All right. But peace, everybody.
Peace.